Do you feel that your finances are unmanageable? That you are unable to keep track of where you spend and how much? Are you perhaps struggling to pay back the full balance of your credit card each month or pay the monthly payments on any loans? Well, there is one word that will solve all of your issues. It's called budgeting, and that's what we're here to talk about in this two-part series. You're listening with Ronak Shah to Budgeting, A Step into the Green, Episode 1, Intro to Budgeting, Needs and Wants. First, let's answer the question, what is budgeting? Budgeting is the practice of tracking your spending. It gives you control over where you should spend your money and how much. The benefit of budgeting is that it reduces stress because you are not worried about whether you can afford something essential. You would have already worked that out with a budgeting plan. For instance, an easy way to reduce expenses off the get-go is by looking for coupons on grocery and other items, as well as frequently checking for promotions on mobile or internet plans. That's just a small example, but by managing your finances wisely overall, budgeting can also help you create a clear financial goal. There are short-term goals, like saving up for a concert, medium-term goals like buying a car, and long-term goals like saving up for university or a house. Budgeting is recommended towards anyone to make financial management easier. But for those who have fallen into unhealthy debt, like credit card debt or loans for failed investments, for example, it is a requirement in order to get out of it. There are a variety of budgeting methods that we will go over. But before we can get into that, we first have to revisit a concept that you would have learned in elementary school, the difference between needs and wants. But in this episode, we will go into slightly more depth. Being able to properly distinguish between these two in every scenario is essential to handle your finances responsibly. When your finances are tight, the first place to cut spending is in the wants. So let's go over their differences. A need is something necessary for survival. The first things you think of are food, clothing, and shelter. I personally like to call these direct needs, that without their immediate support, you would not be able to live for long. However, there are also what I call indirect needs, which provides the method for acquiring the direct need. The best example is gasoline for your car or a transit pass. It gets you to your job. Your job gives you money, which you then use to pay for food, clothing, and shelter. Indirect needs help you acquire your direct needs. The most important need that you must set money aside for is to pay down your debts, because this is what will reduce your interest payments and get you out of debt more quickly. You may have to cut spending for other needs to pay down your credit card debt or the monthly payment for a mortgage loan, but by doing so, you will save a lot of money in the long run. Always remember, the longer you are in debt, the more you will have to pay, and the more difficult it will become to get out of debt. Now, let's talk about wants. Wants are desires. Sure, they may provide satisfaction, but they are not necessities. In some cases, wants tend to be desires for specific things, while needs tend to be more general. What do I mean? Food, for instance, is a need. However, to have a particular dish is a want. A laptop or smartphone or clothing is a need. Branded ones are not. A comfortable office chair may be a need, whereas a cool gaming chair with LED lights would be a want. These specific desires tend to be more expensive. Another aspect is that a need can turn into a want if the quantity exceeds necessary requirement. For example, one big monitor to reduce eye strain can be considered a need, but having two more for extra convenience would be a want. Perhaps 3 or 4 suits for work is a need, but if you buy more than that out of, let's say, retail therapy, it would then become classified as a want. Things that start as needs and eventually become wants, I personally like to call them dynamic wants. Now, there are some areas that can only be categorized as wants, which I call static wants. Entertainment, leisure, symbols of status and prestige are examples of that. We have to pay special attention towards dynamic wants because if you spend a lot on something you think is a need, but has already become a want by that point, you will not be able to save very much from each paycheck. It's possible you may even incur a deficit from overspending and fall into debt. This is why knowing this information is crucial before setting up a budget. To summarize this episode, being able to categorize your spending habits into needs and wants, and understanding when a need may become a want, is the first step to creating a budget that will help you stay away from overspending and, in fact, help you accumulate extra wealth. Join me in my next episode as we explore 3 methods for budgeting.